Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, IU fans, whenever you're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report. Thank you so much for doing so. You're listening to the IU Report with Mike Hutsell and Grant Shouse. Their reaction to IU's big 17-10 win at Iowa on Saturday. We will go deeper into the victory on Tuesday's IU Report with Grant and Mike.
You are listening to the IU Report. Grant Shouse's and Mike Hutsell's reactions to Indiana's 17-10 win over Iowa on Saturday. And here's your host, Greg Mengelt.
Welcome, Hoosier fans, to the Central Indiana Sports Report for our reaction to Indiana's 17-10 win over Iowa. Who knows how things are going to play out the rest of this year. But if things play out kind of the way we expect them to, guys, this could be one of the biggest wins in IU history.
100% agree with you, Greg. Just a gritty win there down the stretch. Iowa was the better team for probably 54, 55 minutes of the game. They controlled a lot of the clock. It was like we kind of thought it would be. It was a kind of grinded out old Big Ten West football game. Indiana had to earn that win. And the offense made plays there down the stretch. That's why you have a wide receiver like Elijah Surratt, who kind of just lingered all game. They didn't really look towards him. He made a couple plays, got him a big first down to kind of set him up earlier before Mendoza turned the ball over. And then he comes up big with the game-winning touchdown. So, I think if we're a team, if Indiana's a program like LSU, Ohio State, Alabama, just pick one of the blue bloods, we're probably sitting here like, wow, like we sucked this game and all this. But the approach I'm taking is that is a hell of a win, because Indiana teams in the past, first of all, wouldn't even have been in that situation. And secondly, would have pissed down their leg in that situation. I thought Gronowski initially going out with an injury kind of it obviously played well in Indiana's favor. Iowa threw the game, guys. I mean, they played well. They really did. They made Indiana uncomfortable, but they played well. And then the missed field goal, Gronowski going out, and then just not being able to wrap up Surratt as he went down and then scored the game-winning touchdown. That is just that's a disaster class if you're Iowa. And Indiana, you'll enjoy this one going into the bye week, and it's so crucial they had to win that game, guys, going into the bye week, because you didn't want to go in on a sour note knowing you got to face Oregon next, and now your confidence is shot going into the off week. And now you're building momentum, and this is going to build momentum for, I think, this team going forward. Just a hell of a win for Indiana football today.
Yeah, Indiana got pulled right into an Iowa. And if you don't know what an Iowa is, that was an Iowa. That was
an Iowa.
That was a field position, physical, hit you after the whistle, make you do things that you're not comfortable doing, hold on every play, get away with a few probable penalties that, we won't talk about, make you scream at the replay review. And Iowa usually wins that game on a late field goal because they let the other team lets them stick around, and Indiana was right there doing that. They did everything that they could have done to keep Iowa there. But then at the end, it was almost like Indiana out-Iowa'd Iowa. Iowa beat itself, which they rarely do.
And Cignetti said in the presser this week, they will not beat themselves. And they did. It wasn't like last week where they broke Illinois' will. It looked like for a minute there Iowa was breaking Indiana's will. But give Indiana credit for bending and not breaking in those late pressure situations.
To be fair, it's already not a good quarterback situation at Iowa, and then you put in a guy who just did not look very good. That might have given it away, although I disagree with you, Grant. I thought Indiana looked like the better team, and the breaks went to Iowa.
That's I mean, I'm hearing you out on your point. I'm not going to say I agree with you until I'm going to go back and watch this one again at some point during the week. And I know we'll probably talk about it on the IU report.
IU's defense is so good.
They were really good, but the offense was the problem today for a lot of the game.
They were good, but they were not good on third down. Let's not pretend that they did not. And part of that probably has to do with Pons being out and it being kind of a last minute thing, it seems like. But
the second half was a lot better, though.
The second half was better. And I disagree with Greg. I don't think that Iowa has a bad quarterback situation. I think Gronowski's actually.
He looked great today.
I think he's a good Big Ten quarterback.
10 points, he's the perfect quarterback for you.
But his injury did sway the game. Now, Iowa, they turned it over in plus territory, which gave Indiana their first 7. They had the late ball that got tipped, and Lou Moore picked off when they looked like they could have been going down to score at least a field goal. And then just out of nowhere, which I never expected, that kicker who looked like there was magnets pulling the ball in between the uprights for
Phil Simms jinxed him.
Hey, you know what?
He sucks, man.
Pride of Moorhead State, baby.
You can hear him talking, though he's from Kentucky because he's a fucking idiot.
But hey, Indiana out Iowa today. They escaped, and this is a game that a good team has to win. They figured it out.
Yep.
And their stars made plays when stars needed to make plays. Fernando was not great, but he had some throws, and he stood in there on that blitz and got it to Elijah Surratt, who made the biggest play of his IU career, perhaps. And he's had an awful good IU career. So huge win.
I think the ghost of Bill Mallory kind of from up above blew that field goal wide left there, and their kicker Stevens was automatic from almost the same distance the entire day, and that I think really gave Indiana momentum. It gave them a shot. I mean, you don't know because you aren't on the sideline, but you wonder if maybe they were a little dejected knowing that Iowa probably was going to go up 3 and then they miss it. And then you get into a situation where you kind of got your back against the wall. Well, when the game's tied in that situation where Indiana's got the ball, your back's not necessarily against the wall, but you feel like you got to make a play, and they did.
And we're going to hit on this at some point, and I'm going to have a diatribe, and it may need to be on this week's IU report. I don't know.
Yeah, anything negative goes to the IU report.
We're going to have a discussion about Shanahan, man, in these big games. That
was weak.
That was malpractice almost. I mean, I'm sitting there watching the game with my 14-year-old, and I said, "Hey, what do you think we're going to do here on first down? You think we're going to do an inside draw?" And they do an inside draw.
Very predictable.
It was so vanilla, so unlike what we see. And I mean, when Indiana gets rolling, it's one of the more beautiful offenses in college football. I mean, you saw it last week. We've seen it against subpar competition. Obviously, Iowa's got a good defense, and Iowa will line up and hit you. To their credit, those guys were just laying some hits. And the right side of the offensive line was a struggle today. They were letting Iowa get home. But again, Indiana did what good teams do. They figured it out. And their playmaker made the play when it needed to be made. And on defense, they did as well with Lou Moore.
Indiana guys needed a game like that. You talk about how Indiana doesn't play anyone, and if they were get into situations like that, you don't know what they'll do. Let's be honest, we really didn't know what was going to happen there. Greg kept saying they were going to win. I thought the game was over.
I mean, the students did too. Panicked. They were leaving their seats to storm the field.
Think about that, guys. Iowa would have won, and they would have stormed the field against effing Indiana. Indiana is worthy of a field storm.
Never winning that game. IU still had a drive. They were going to score. Signetti had been waiting for these play calls all day to win the game, and they were going to execute them. They were never not going to win this game.
I'll tell you what, he was about as animated as he's ever been on the sideline at Indiana today, and about multiple situations. Honestly, I'll give Iowa credit here at the end of the game where they had all 3 timeouts. That's a good coaching move, I think, from Kirk Ferentz to call timeouts after every kneel down to stop the clock and make Indiana do it on 4th down, put them in a situation. You still kind of knew that Indiana was going to possess the ball and not turn it over, thankfully. But it's a good decision there.
IU didn't handle it very well, that's for sure.
They didn't. And Signetti, dude, it's like you could see what he said right before the fourth down kneel, or the literally the last snap of the game. He literally said to Mendoza, "Take the snap and run backwards, but don't give up points. Come on, don't give up points.
Go down at the 1, man.
Run out of bounds. It's over."
I give 0 shits about. I mean, it had nothing to do with the spread,
right?
I mean,
how about the minus 50 rushing yards? Grant every week goes through all the stats. Now he's going to have to be every week going forward. He's going to have to say, but except for that 50-yard loss on the last play.
the stat that I care about is they hung another 1 in the left-hand column of the win loss.
Yep.
So if you have to win ugly at Iowa, everything's ugly in Iowa. So there is a clause, I think, in Kirk Ferentz's contract that every game has to have at least 1 safety. So
true.
I completely forgot about that.
You said there was going to be a safety today, Mike.
I should have bet safety anytime today.
You're right, Mike. That is so Steelers. You nailed that.
Yep.
That was a Steelers Ravens final.
I promise you, the Steelers have played the most 2015 games in NFL history. I promise.
So when talking to my dad at halftime about the game today, he said that this game's going to end up being a lot similar to the Michigan game last year. It's going to be kind of a gritty performance down the stretch, going into the bye week before you got to play a big team. And what do you know? The final score ends up being the same as the Michigan game from last year, 20-15. And it was that kind of game where Indiana had to make a big play at the very end. Of course, it was a little different. They had a punt return that set them up in field goal range last year against Michigan. And they went down and kicked a field goal and ended up winning the game. And they ended up winning by 5, and they were able to stop Michigan, get a stop on 4th down, just like they did today. It was this year's Michigan game, and that is a good win. You cannot complain about a win inside Kinnick Stadium. That is just a gritty performance from Indiana, and you got to be – I know it sounds corny, guys, but you got to be proud to be a Hoosier today.
Hey, let's play one of my favorite games here. How old was Grant when Indiana's last win at Kinnick was 2007? How old were you, Grant?
I would have been 3.
I hate you so much sometimes.
I was already in my 30s. By the way, there's never been a 20-15 game in NFL history. How weird is that?
Oh, that's a scoregami?
Scoregami.
There you go. Nice.
But I promise you, Mike Tomlin Steelers will be the first.
Probably.
It'll be a Steelers-Ravens Sunday night game. It's guaranteed. One of our favorite games. Who's winning what today? Florida State goes down last night. That's a big moment for Indiana. LSU trailing right now with a minute to go.
They're about to lose.
Against Ole Miss. Tennessee in a dogfight right now. That's potentially big news for Indiana. Iowa State.
I don't know if you guys are online enough to hear about this. Not that this really matters, but a storyline in this Ole Miss LSU game is that Landry Kiffin, Lane Kiffin's daughter, is dating the starting linebacker from LSU, and she just posted about it on her Instagram this week. And so there was probably some motivation there for Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. And Lane Kiffin's one of my favorites. So I hate Brian Kelly, so I'm pretty happy to see Ole Miss pull this out.
All I can say for Mr. Whitweeks down in LSU, good job, bud. Way to go, man.
He may have lost today, but he's winning off the field, dude.
Oh, another big win for Indiana today. Illinois. Let's talk, everybody's waiting for that. They sucked after Indiana beat them, but they bounced back today. And talk about a stupid field storm. Illinois storms the field after beating a shit USC team today. Yep. But, hey, it helps Indiana look better that they didn't go out and lay an egg. And maybe they'll turn their season around and have another 10-win year.
They really ended up boding well for Indiana at this point. I'll be interested and I'm really going to be tuned in for this Oregon-Penn State game. It'll be really interesting to kind of get an early look at those two teams and how they stack up against each other in a hostile environment. That's going to be a really fun game tonight.
It's a whiteout, and I know that's a really, really, really tough win. But, God, I can't trust James Franklin ever until he wins one of these games. I don't know why you're not taking Oregon on the money line if you're betting right now. In no world do I think Penn State's better than Oregon.
No,
I might be wrong, but
I agree.
And I'll fess up to it on the next pod. But I don't think Drew Allar's any good. I don't think James Franklin's any good, and I just don't think Penn State's that good.
I think Tyler Warren and Abdul Carter were very, very good, and
they were amazing. And guess what? James Franklin didn't. I know we talked about just how huge a win this is for Indiana. Anything statistically or anything that jumps out at you while we wrap this up?
I haven't been able to look at final stats yet. I mean, just off the top of my head, I know that probably again, it's one of those things where this is just what Iowa does. This is how Iowa's, and they controlled the time of possession. Thinking about it off the top of my head, you would imagine that they won the game in the time of possession. And that's how Indiana's been able to win a lot of their games this year, is by controlling, especially like in the early part of games before they start blowing teams out. Maybe the Old Dominion game is the other exception. But this is one of those situations where Iowa really controlled the ball. They controlled the clock in their favor, and Indiana wasn't able to do that. They made Indiana uncomfortable. I thought Iowa played really well today, and they threw it away. I mean, I was getting ready to come on here and give them all the credit for them being prepared and how great of a defensive coordinator they have with that Phil Parker and all this, but Indiana ends up rewriting the script right at the last second. So just a great win for Indiana. But Mike, I don't want to cut you off here. I just want to say this. I know Greg's going to agree with me. Thank God this game is over. And I hope to the Lord above that Indiana never plays another game on Peacock this year where I got to listen to Paul Burmeister and effing Phil Simms on the mic once again.
Amen.
Burmeister.
Amen.
Paul Burmeister is, he's not great. It's whatever. But Phil Simms is just unlistenable.
All right, guys, I want to shout out a couple of players I thought were really good. Isaiah Jones and Aiden Fisher were fantastic, and Kellen Wyatt, they don't win that game without him.
No, they don't.
Again, I 100% agree with you.
That's talking about, when they need them, that's some of your best defenders stepping up. Jones gets the deflection early in the game, causes the interception. Amari Farrell, who they needed to play big with Pons out, got the pick. Aiden Fisher is just, the kid's a stud, man. He's all over the field when he's out there. You rarely see a play where he's not involved in some form. And then Wyatt, he's turning into Indiana's best pass rusher, in my opinion. I mean, he makes plays in the backfield. Iowa, they kept talking about Moulton and how great he was settled in and was running the ball. I didn't really feel like Iowa established that much of a ground game. He did have 75 yards on almost 20 carries, so he averaged 4.2 yards per rush, but
they averaged
22 of those came on one run, so take that out, that's a kind of a paltry day. I'm going to shout out our guy, Fernando. I know didn't look like a Heisman line today, but a Heisman quarterback wins that game. 13 of 23. 233 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had the pick that almost cost them the game, but
that mattering.
He put his head down and he actually ran for some tough yards. Slide, dude. Every time that guy ran, I was nervous as hell. He took that hit on the sidelines, which I didn't think was a late hit, but some people seem to think that it was. I thought it was a good, clean hit by Iowa.
I think so, too.
Me too.
It's a bye week. Let's just enjoy other people's torture for a week.
Before we go, Grant, I want to prove my point that IU is better than Iowa today, and the better team won. IU averaged 6.6 yards per play. Iowa averaged 4.4 yards per play.
Mm-hmm. I mean, sure, but Iowa made plays that I thought made Indiana uncomfortable.
Yeah, they did. I just thought Indiana was the better team, and they overcame a very tough opponent.
I think they needed some adversity like that. Playing a tough, close game. They really needed a game like that. Now that they've shown they can win games like that, I know there were a couple situations that, kind of gifted them. Because I really don't think they were gifted the win. I think they made plays when they had to. That guy could have missed the 40-yard field goal or whatever it was, and then their defense still could have gotten a stop. The game wasn't over. Iowa still had a chance, even though they missed a field goal. So Indiana made plays when they had to make them. But going back to what Mike was saying about Isaiah Jones, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but don't you just see so much Micah McFadden in Isaiah Jones?
He plays downhill. He's constantly, making plays like that. He's sort of a ball hawk and a heat-seeking missile out there. But yeah, that's a very good comparison.
I thought him and Fisher, like you said, were just phenomenal today and really were their best two defensive players.
So this is a bye week for IU, so there will be no preview and no reaction next week. But fear not, there will be 2 IU reports between now and the next football game. We will dedicate one of those to basketball, one of those to football, but we'll probably talk about both on both of them.
Probably.
Is Purdue okay? How's the weather up there? It was their bye week, so they didn't get any delays today, but I know they get scared by a little lightning up there. So is everybody okay?
The game was
Purdue.
at Notre Dame, Mike.
The week before it wasn't, Greg.
Anyway, thanks, guys. Had to put up with that in the newsroom for a couple of years. Every day. I heard this stuff from him. Man, it was a great time working with Mike Hutsell. It's been fun having him on the podcast. Never fails to make me laugh, and he is so good at this. Thanks to Grant and Mike for joining me. Thank you for listening. Do us a huge favor and share this podcast with an IU fan in your life. And help spread the word that the Central Indiana Sports Report is here, talking about Central Indiana sports every single day. Since you didn't want to say that, will you say the Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media?
Is it true?
It is true.
The Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media. And I love Greg.
And I love Susie.